Just say this is we're going to have another trying year. We're going to be tested in a lot of ways that maybe we haven't been tested in. There's not a doubt in my mind, not one single doubt in my mind that we're going to be successful.
Last year, Zero Fatalities Nevada recorded 257 deaths on Clark County roads.
It's with the vision of the sheriff of reaching out more to the Hispanic community, and what better way to do it than with a Hispanic event, a horse event, an equestrian event?
You know, there are those that believe it's just a football game. I mean, it's the biggest football game on the world stage, but there's a gigantic footprint.
What does it take to become a Metro police officer?
We understand that we have these vacancies right now, and that's why we have academies going every couple of months.
Las Vegas has 42 new police officers.
We have African American Recruitment Council, Asian, Hispanic, female, finding ways to help us, not only in the recruitment piece of it, but when you look at the org chart, to help diversify the organization, right?
New at 6:30, Metro Police have arrested 2 more suspects in a deadly shooting from January.
Again, Metro Police saying most of these fatal crashes are preventable. Now, the message they want to get across on social media to drivers is to save a life, even if it's your own.
Courtroom hero was honored today at the Clark County Commission meeting. Metro Corrections Officer Jose Cabrala was celebrated for his quick actions during a courtroom attack this year.
Breaking news here at 4, the law firm that was the site of a shooting that left 2 people and the shooter dead closed for business.
And Enzo, the K-9 officer, is back up to full speed after being stabbed on the job and nearly dying.
Well, you may do a double take the next time you see a Metro officer out and about, because they may or may not be wearing the uniform you're used to seeing them in. Gunfire across the valley is down.
This possible drive-by moving shooter. So what you see on the screen are actually the order of the gunshots. So it's a true game changer for LVMPD in our community.
We're getting new information on a series of burglaries around the valley.
Most of them took place in the Spring Mountain and Chinatown areas. We're able to track Hassan's BMW in the area of different crimes using licensed reader software used by law enforcement.
Metro has been using drones for a while now. We're continuously finding new ways to use the technology to fight crime and keep our communities safe.
Metro Police are making sure race weekend is a safe one. Plans call for officers throughout the footprint of the track and also up on the pedestrian bridges.
A Las Vegas Metro officer killed in a wrong-way crash on his way home early this morning, remembered by those who knew him and honored by those who served alongside him.
Just 2 weeks away from New Year's Eve, and Las Vegas Metro Police Department is making sure the city is safe in all aspects.
Authorities are investigating a vehicle fire outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas that left 1 person dead, injured several others. We believe the vehicle in question is a Cybertruck.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome to the 2025 State of the Department. Please welcome to the stage Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Sheriff Kevin McMahill.
They gave me a Metallica walkout song, huh? Can't beat that. Well, good morning, everybody. You know, it's amazing when you watch that video to reflect back on what happened with Metro in the last year in our community. It's actually almost overwhelming if you pay attention to all the things that, in fact, I would tell you as I'm watching it back there, I started to shake a couple of times on some of those burglary series and things that took us a little while to actually solve. But what I'm also confident of is that we have the best law enforcement agencies that work together here in Southern Nevada of anywhere in this country, and we have some remarkable success. Before I get started, what an amazing breakfast, right? At an amazing venue. I thought last year at the Sphere was pretty cool, but Mike Gennaro reached out to the CEO over here, Maurice Wooden. Maurice is over here. Could you say hi to everybody, Maurice? He's taken this spectacular property from struggling to success, and what's an amazing opportunity for us to be here. Thank you very much, sir. You and your team have been fantastic. So I'm going to dive. This is going to be a little bit different than what you've seen in years past, the way that I normally do this. You're actually going to hear from the undersheriff and the chief admin officer around a couple of areas so that we have the opportunity to let them kind of talk about their areas of expertise, and you don't have to listen to me all day, which is also a very beneficial piece of this. We also are blessed to have our friends from the City Council as well as the mayor here, the County Commission, and many of my other elected friends. And so if you all would please stand and be recognized as well, I'd sure appreciate that. So as you all know, I started off while I was campaigning for sheriff with a couple of promises. One is that we were going to come in here and kick the shit out of crime. That was maybe not the public way I was saying it, but that's what I really meant the entire time. That we were going to increase our community policing and inject humanity into all that it is that we do. That we're going to become one of the most technologically advanced police departments in the country. And really, the report card of policing is how well it is that we do against crime. That's the number one thing that people pay attention to, what happens with the police department. So I want to show you a little bit. This last year's number, down another 22%. And as I walk through these numbers, I want to remind you again that these are human beings behind these numbers. These are lives, these are families, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles whose lives will never be the same because one of their loved ones' lives was taken from them. We have aggravated assault down almost 6%. Robbery, another 14%. Burglary, another 9%. And in an area that we really failed last year, we were up about 89% in stolen motor vehicles due to the Hyundai Kia challenge that was all over TikTok. We were getting our butts kicked. So we walked right in and changed some of the things that we were doing to make a significant difference and lowered that by almost 30%. Since I've been your sheriff, those are the 2-year reductions that we've had in all of those major crime categories. But let me say this to you. I know without a doubt that while I'm the head of the agency, and I get a lot of credit for that, the work that the men and women do, the leaders of this organization that go out and lead these men and women and inspire them and motivate them and ask them to move the mountains and to make a difference in the lives of our community happens at the line level. My police officers, my corrections officers, they go out every single day with their hearts full, with the intent to make a real difference. And I think if I have to give us a grade, I say we're getting an A right now when it comes to crime reduction. But I also like to acknowledge people like Jason Potts and my friends from the FBI and the ATF, Spencer and Ken, and all of you all that work so hard alongside of us, the U.S. Marshal Gary Schofield and the District Attorney Steve Wolfson. I had to mention his name, or he'd be mad at me for a couple weeks, and that happens every time. But honestly, we really work together to make a significant difference here. And you're going to hear about a couple of things that we've done here in a short period of time. I will tell you that about a decade ago, I sat down with a number of people, to include Carrie Underwood and Tom Monahan, and we talked about a number of things about how could we get all the pieces and parts of Metro to really start to share information and intelligence, to act on it very swiftly. Things like our Central Intelligence Unit and our Gun Crime Unit, our shoot teams, CJIC, all of these things that are actually working today in conjunction with one another that are so powerful to go out there and to make sure that the bad guys in this world that are preying upon our community are not getting away with it. It is literally magical for me to watch. And I'm going to probably steal a second of thunder here, but there's a group of people that we started a team just really the second half of last year to focus in on shootings that did not end up in a homicide. I already have the best homicide unit in the country with last year a 95% solve rate. What does that mean? Yeah, I should clap for that. That means if you kill somebody in Las Vegas, you're going to get caught, and you're going to get prosecuted, and you're going to go to prison. But we weren't as successful in these times when it was a non-homicide, when just 1 inch left or right could have been a homicide. So we put together a team. I don't know what the hell it's actually called, to be honest, with VGCU or something like that, but I call it the Shoot Team. And it's led by Brian Peterson and Ramon Nakla and a number of other folks that are over there that are doing exceptional work. And let me tell you what they did in a short period of time. 43 shootings, 100% solve rate last year. We were hovering at 30 to 40% in those solves before we centralized it. That is police work that is exceptional. And I know the Shoot Team's back there somewhere. Could you and your leadership stand up for me back there and be recognized for all the great work you're doing? Stand up. Amazing work. All right, so now I get the honor of introducing my number 2, Under Sheriff Andy Walsh, who's going to go over a number of the crime issues with you, and then we'll come back. Andy, where'd you hiding at? There you go. Give it up for Andy, would you? Just click the green button.
Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. All right, so the sheriff introduced me. We don't need that. I want you all to take a look at that picture. That's what a fatal accident looks like in our community. That's somebody who left home, driving to work, driving to their place of business, maybe going to pick the kids up at school. I want you to think in your head, how many times a day, how many times a week do you do that? That's what it looks like. We talk about numbers and fatal accidents. The number for 2024 even went up by 1 as of yesterday because somebody who was severely injured lost their life. So we're at 160 people who experienced that on our roadways in 2024. And if you look, the number's pretty much the same for 2023. At Metro, we always take pride in our ability to solve problems. But when we look at a number that doesn't change, we take a look at everything involved. There's a lot of components to saving lives on our roadways. And I leave this image up here because I want you to look at it. I want every person in this room to think about what that looks like. That's someone's family member. Like when we talk about homicides and we talk about the effect that that has on our community and in our neighborhoods and on families, this is twice as tragic, because every one of these is preventable. And every one of us in this room has an obligation to make sure that an event like this, when you think about 160 over the course of a year, that's every other day practically, where our traffic section, our fatal detail has to go out to the scene, looking at an accident like this. Someone has to go tell family members that their husband, their wife, their son, their daughter, their grandmother is not coming home. And it's simply because of the selfish driving behavior that exists in our community. When we looked at the data and we looked at the efforts that we were making as a police department to make our roads safer, in 2023 we wrote over 81,000 citations for traffic violations. Seems like a lot, but the number was still too high. It's as close to 160 in 2023 as it was in 2024. So in 2024, we doubled down on that effort. We wrote over 121,000 citations, but yet the number of fatal accidents increased by 2. How's that possible? How is this possible in a community as generous as ours, as community-oriented as we all are, that we can be that selfish on our roadways. So I stand here today and I challenge not just the entire criminal justice system, but we're challenging each and every one of us who may have the ability by position, who may have the ability by relationships they hold within the community to change this number. Because I will write another, I don't know, maybe we'll get 30, 40,000 more citations this year, car stops and interactions with people attempting to change their behavior on our roadways. But what's going to change if other things don't change along with it? Like I said, as selfish as people can be on the roadway should be shocking to each and every one of us. Those images, heaven forbid it should be somebody that you love. So we all have a responsibility to go out and change the dynamics on our roadways in 2025. Everybody agree? So one thing we talk about frequently at our police department is the use of force, and particularly officer-involved shootings. And you can see from the numbers that are on the screen, in 2020 we had 19, 2024 we had 17, and the number bounces around 10, 14, in and around that 5-year period. And when we think about these events, these are events where our police officers responded to critical incidences where they felt their life or the life of someone else was in danger, and they chose to use deadly force. And when we think of our ability as an organization to reduce this number, we constantly challenge ourselves to come up with new and innovative ways, working with our community partners, listening to the feedback, to determine if there are ways where we can reduce officer-involved shootings and the use of force, particularly deadly force, in our community. This is an officer safety issue. This is an issue for the public. This is a thing that, as a concept, when we look at it, we constantly evaluate our tactics, our training, how we teach our leadership to respond to these events, the importance of supervisory involvement in these things. But it boils down to two key things: officer safety, keeping our cops safe, and keeping the community safe at the same time. Two very important factors. So when we looked at the number increase from 10 to 17 over the course of a year, and working closely with several members of the Sheriff's Multicultural Advisory Council, along with getting feedback from other members of the community, there's key things that we're going to do in 2025 in an attempt to increase our officer safety and reduce the number of officer-involved shootings. And there are 4 key components to the Code 4 principle training that's going to be taking place over the course of 2025. It's already underway since the year already started. But again, the goal is to reduce the number of officer-involved shootings. And there's 4 key components to that training. Obviously, de-escalation, something that we have been talking about at Metro since back in 2010 and even before then. How do we de-escalate and slow down situations? Information sharing. How do our cops share information, not only on the way to the call, but when they get to the call? How does leadership communicate amongst themselves and then appropriately allocate resources? And then also, all of these things combined make us more proficient when we're dealing with these critical incidents. We know that supervisory involvement is the cornerstone to everything that we do in these critical incidents. But we also know that finding the time to train and training the right way is a key part to our success. So this year, in 2025, we've come up with these 4 principles of training, but how are we going to do it is the most important thing. You see, patrol squads in our agency get to train twice a month. And the philosophy change or the paradigm shift for this year is 12 times during the next calendar year, our patrol officers will be exposed to the subject matter experts, our tactical experts from SWAT, our subject matter experts in our reality-based training and our advanced officer skills training 12 times over the next calendar year. That's a change from twice a year. So we're going to substantially increase that number, and really it boils down to this: putting them in training scenarios and give them some stress inoculation, working side by side with the subject matter experts, the tactical experts, the folks that can teach them how to handle things in a way that slows things down and at the same time keeps them safe and keeps the members of our community safe. And these are some images of what the equipment and what the training looks like that these officers will be going through. The sheriff spoke and pretty much said everything I needed to say about the violent crime gun unit and acknowledged the detectives and the leadership that are here. But the one thing I will add to this is that not only is their closure rate substantial, and we're also on the same path for 2025, but in addition to the violent gun crime unit, or the shoot team like we like to say, this is really part of a paradigm or a philosophy shift where we established the Safe Neighborhoods Bureau. And in the Safe Neighborhoods Bureau also exists our gang crimes unit, our narcotics unit, because we know that shootings that occur in our neighborhoods are typically driven by those other factors. Sometimes it's gang violence, sometimes it's narcotics, sometimes it's vice, sometimes it's all those things wrapped in one. So under the direction of Deputy Chief Brian Peterson, who leads that Safe Neighborhoods Bureau, we're making a substantial impact in solving these types of crimes. We call them, I affectionately refer to these crimes where people get shot and survive as failed murders. You don't shoot at another human being and only want to harm them. People are shooting at other people in our community with the intent to kill them. And by the grace of God, they survive. And our closure rate prior to this change seemed to bounce from year to year, where it was somewhere in the 30s, sometimes in the 40s. We've even gotten as high as in the 60s. But when we have a homicide closure rate that year in, year out is over 95%, the shift for us is that we treat each and every one of these shooting incidences like we do a homicide now. And we've handpicked and hand-selected the leadership of those teams. The detectives have been hand-selected by the leadership, and you can see the results of their work. And I'm telling you that they are making the world we live in safer. They're making Las Vegas a safe place for people to visit. They're making it a safe place for people to work. And they're making it a safe place for all of us to live. You can see I don't use technology as well as the sheriff. Hiring. We're one of the few agencies that still has I think our vacancy rate right now is under 4% for police positions. And if you look at that national news story that seems to be recurring over the last 5 years, where police departments, in some cases, are 50% vacant. I don't know how they do business with half their positions unfilled, but there's been a lot of work done in this area by members of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, by our finance section, by our recruiting section, to keep filling seats in our academy classes. But I would tell you that none of that would be possible without our partners at the City of Las Vegas, without our partners at the Clark County Commission, who continually support and fund our efforts to recruit, hire, and train new police officers, so that when you're out in your neighborhoods, you feel safe, you see a police car, you know that we're hiring. So do me a favor, go out and recruit, help us get that vacancy factor to zero over the next couple of years. But without the partnerships of our city and county government folks, we would not be in the position we're in today to have the number of police officers we have on our staff. So thank you to them. So there's two things that my boss always talks about: wellness, taking care of the heart, mind, body, and soul of our police officers, and making sure that the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is the most technologically advanced police department in the country. And we're well on our way to doing that. So I have a short video that I'd like to play for you all to give you an example of that technology at work.
Control, Fusion Watch 16, can you copy a LPR scan for a street zone vehicle? It's going to be going eastbound Spring Mountain and Lindell, and it's on a white Lincoln MKV sedan.
411A LPR and call to Spring Mountain and Lindell. 10-1 eastbound, a white Lincoln MKZ sedan.
Looks like it's on the northwest corner of Spring Mountain and Eldon.
CFR 3 control. Are you able to start towards this 411A as well? 4490 Spring Mountain.
I got put in this.
We're good. We have the passenger coming out.
Yeah, I think the driver's inside of the red Dragon. I think he just peeked his head out. Hey, Fusion Watch, before we go in there, did you guys see the driver by chance?
a negative.
843, we're launching our drone now. The drone unit is here. Let's get him over here and try to see if this guy jumped into his backyard. He's going to be jumping, it looks right back onto Spring Mountain here in a second. He's behind the businesses. He's going to be behind the business in that back alley. Just jumped into the rear back there. He's going to be in between two houses just north of the business. 843. So if everyone can see our drone, we have the strobes on. We're going to fly directly on top of him. And then you can set your perimeter up from there. He doesn't know the drone's there. He's hiding under some trees in between two houses. Just now pacing in the back of the yard, now walking westbound again in the rear yard. He's going to be right on the other side of that wall. He's under a tree right now. The FR3 is now jumping the wall west. He's running along that yard. We're staying with him. DFR3, he's now in that yard. Looks like he was about to jump out to where you guys are. Now he's running south and west over that other address. Now still in the rear yard. Keep moving west, guys. And now he's going to be possibly trying to jump the wall west again. He's climbing a ladder to jump west. You guys are directly in front of the house that he's on the east side of. He's now walking along the fence. Looks like south. It looks like officers are going to be possibly out with him now in that rear yard. 4653, same street as before.
Copy 4653, Drake.
With the red.
Copy, channel's clear, 2312 hours.
And excellent job by all. We got one in custody. All officers are safe. Just let the WC know he's in custody. And 705, thank you. We're code 4.
So you see an example there of a lot of technology at work, the use of a license plate reader, the use of a drone. I want you to think about what you just saw. In 2024, 2025, police officers no longer have to go out and go down dark alleys in between houses or trailers looking for a suspect. We have the ability, because of the advancements led by Sheriff McMahill, as a police department, to put a drone in the sky, tell us where the bad guy is, and then safely direct our officers to a point where they can apprehend the suspect. We are the most technologically advanced police department in the country. Now, as I get to bring the sheriff back up onto the stage, I get to show you an example of that technology firsthand, hard at work. All right, guys, it's all yours. So if you take a look on the screen, that's a live view. That looks familiar, doesn't it?
So I walked by the drone guys this morning and said, don't screw it up. They had a little bit of pressure. So I thought they were going to fly all over the room here, but maybe they got a little nervous. Great job. Hey, so I just comment on a couple things that Andy said as we move through this, but you know, it's pretty sad for me when you look at the fact that when your loved one leaves your house, let's say one of your kids or your husband or wife, that there's more of a likelihood that they're going to die in a fatality traffic accident than a murder, because we are not getting done what needs to be done. And that is the challenge as we move forward. So you've heard me talk about red light cameras and lots of other things that made me very unpopular with people on both sides, but it goes back to this very piece, and it simply is this. There's a lot of critics that say that we're trying to turn this into a surveillance state. Nothing could be further from the truth. I don't want cameras everywhere. Our cameras, our drones, all these things that work through our real-time crime center are designed to respond when incidents of violence have occurred. So what you're seeing with these drones is right now we have DFR, or drone as a first responder. And those drones they're being deployed just like a canine unit would be. There's a police officer and a drone operator. They respond to instances of violence. They go out, they put the drone up, and they give real-time intelligence to cops that are responding out there right now. Never happened in my career. It's going to keep us more safe, this community more safe. And by the way, we're doing this with donations from individuals out in our community that care about this police department. The next iteration of drones, however, is a much larger drone, a Skydio drone. They're going to be forward deployed out into 10 hotspot neighborhoods in our community. And they're going to be tied to license plate readers and gunshot detection technology. So imagine this. A gunshot goes off, it triangulates where it's at, gives the information to the drone that's out in the neighborhood. The drone launches off of the police station, goes overhead, and within 30 seconds that all occurs. Back at the Real-Time Crime Center at headquarters, we'll have an individual that'll be able to take over the piloting of the drone. And as the police officers are responding to this call for service, where shots still may be being fired, a victim may be down, we'll have real-time intelligence to be able to go in there and continue to save human beings and their lives. It's an absolute game changer as we move forward in this community. But it's not about spying. It's not about going out and putting these things up so that people feel like we're watching everything that we do. This is about focused solely on making our community the vision that we're trying to achieve. This is the safest community in America. So that's what some of those drones that are going to be pre-positioned look like. Give you a little picture of right now because of where we're at and the flight restrictions that we have in our valley because of Nellis and the small airports as well as Harry Reid International. We are also the first police department in the country that received authorization through partnership with the FAA to operate those drones beyond our visual line of sight. The first one in the country. That's amazing work by those drone operators. And then a little bit of good news for you. These badass machines, we've ordered 10 of them. And they didn't come out of our budget again. They came out of a very generous donation from an individual by the way, we ordered this before the Trump Tower, okay? But I will tell you that in looking at why do we want these things, number one is the cop inside is going to be safe no matter what. They'll stop bullets. They're also a tremendous recruitment tool for us. We're going to have the largest fleet of Tesla police trucks that exists in the country, and it did not impact our general budget. In fact, we have a couple folks that are flying down to California, I believe Thursday or Friday, to check in on the status of these things as we get them. But you can expect, imagine when we're out and we're charging these things and these officers are going to be approached by people all over the community to see this thing. It's an opportunity for that injecting humanity to increase our partnership, to increase understanding, to develop relationship, all those things that we've talked about. That's what the hope is behind these things as well. And then this one is a SWAT vehicle. And that is going to be a month or two behind that, but it is another armored version of a Tesla truck that our SWAT team, who is literally the best in the country, will be able to deploy with great regularity to keep the men and women safe that are out there doing this work. I'll tell you, just last night we had an event where we had an individual with a rifle, and our cops are out there confronting this individual. We hit him with the 40 millimeter less lethal about 8 or 9 times, didn't work. Hit him with a beanbag shotgun about the same amount of times, didn't work. Hit him with a taser and a dog, which finally worked and got him into custody. But in any other time, much like you saw in the video that Andy showed, that probably would have resulted in an officer-involved shooting. We are finding ways to make sure that we can get to the place where we have less and less people being killed, and the SWAT team is the #1 de-escalation tool that I have on the police department, and they do exceptional in that work. All right, now I get to introduce to you he's going to talk about some wellness stuff and a couple other things, and then I'll come back up and close it out with where we're going in this final year. So please accept James Kilber, the Chief Admin Officer, to the stage. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. What a pleasure to be here today. One thing I want to say is when the sheriff makes a promise to this community, he makes it happen. The slide before you is the grand opening of the Wellness Bureau. The sheriff said if we take care of our employees, they will take better care of this community. And that's exactly what is happening here today at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. 2 months ago, we opened our brand new wellness center. This is a wellness center like no other. And if you haven't been there, you need to get there. We have clinicians, we have peer support team, we have chaplains that are running this show. Sheriff McMahill also said, I want to treat the heart, I want to treat the mind, the body, and the soul of our individuals. What does that look like? Well, let me tell you what it looks like. It looks like when an academy starts and a new Metro officer starts and he's 21 years old, we're going to give him the tools or her the resources that they need to face the traumas that they will experience throughout their career. We're going to also take that through the department in training, in counseling sessions, in tools to give all of our officers those tools so they can be successful. And when they retire, they can retire happy. And that's the most important thing. These men and women see so many things each day that we cannot even begin to understand. When we first started the Wellness Bureau, we didn't have a building. And so we thought, the only building we have is we could place them in headquarters. And I'm going to be honest with you, we kind of thought, are people really going to come to the headquarters to seek treatment? And I was on the elevator one day, and a young lady came on. She's a commissioned officer, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "I'm here to see my counselor." I was like, that was a change right there. It showed me two things. These services are needed, number one, and they're willing to trust us, and they did. And I can tell you what, the doors started opening and people started coming in our doors for treatment and help. These are our first clinicians that we hired. They were stationed out of headquarters in the old peer support building. Let me tell you something about our process when we interviewed. We had hundreds of candidates for clinicians, for psychologists. We decided as a board that we were going to pick the best in the country. And so we did not choose any one of our clinicians unless it was unanimous approval across the board by all the board members. So I'm happy to tell you today that we have the best team of clinicians and peer support throughout the nation. Let me share with you now another game changer in building of this wellness program. I want you to look at these individuals. Each one of these individuals are members of LVMPD. They are heroes. The bravery and courage that they've taken, they've stepped before LVMPD and they put a video out, each one of them. And they talked about their suicidal ideology. They talked about their PTSD. They talked about their trauma, their anxiety, their stress. They talked about their sleepless nights. Not only did these 7 individuals step forward, our sheriff stepped forward. And he shared a story about the suicide of his brother and the trauma that caused him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the leader of our organization. willing to stand up and tell everyone at times it's okay not to be okay. But we have the resources now to help with these issues. One other story I'll share with you right now is when Sheriff was a young cop on the streets, and he shared this story with us, and he said, he said, I went to a call, and a guy had a shotgun in his hand, and I did everything I could to save his life, and he blew his head off in front of me. This is the pain, this is the trauma that our officers see every day. So here's part of our team, and first off, the young, handsome gentleman there in the front is Dr. James Tenney. Dr. James Tenney, where are you at? Can you stand up for a second? There he is. He is our director of our Wellness Bureau. He's a psychologist, and it's been just great to have him. But this is our team of clinicians, our team of peer support people that all work together day in and night to make sure everyone's safe in this agency. We treat all family members, we treat all employees, and we treat all retirees. It's free, it's accessible, and most importantly, it's confidential. Just another look. I have to point out Jimmy, the wellness dog. That's Sheriff McMahill's favorite employee. And but anyway, right now our clinicians are seeing over 425 visits per month. That's incredible. 425 people are coming to help per month because they need help. Anyway, I have to say about this team, and when I look at this team up here, I want to add in the chaplains that help us, the health and safety people that are in the room here today. It takes everybody to come together. This team works 24/7. When there's a crisis, they're out. They're out on the briefing rooms. They're out on officer-involved shootings. They are there to lend a hand. So our peer support team, we have 6 peer support staff who go out. With peer support and our chaplains and our health and safety, we go out about 1,000 times a month. We make contact. Either it's a phone call, it's a visit at the hospital, anything that our employees need to make sure they don't fall through the cracks. Manager Joe Hearns of our peer support team, we're going to give you a tour of our Wellness Bureau.
Hi, I'm Joe Hearns, Manager of Peer Support. Welcome to the Wellness Building. I wanted to give you the perspective of what it's like for an employee to walk through the front door and what that experience is like here. So from the time that you walk in to the time that you walk out the exit, we want it to feel calming, therapeutic, and kind of that Zen vibe. So as you can see, when you walk in, from the lighting to the music, everything is for a purpose, to make you feel calm, and then again, that Zen vibe. So come on, I'll take you to a tour. So as we head down to the other side, I want to make sure that we understand that when you see an office door that's closed with the sound machine on, that means there's a session in progress. So we want to be respectful of our clients and our employees, and we want to give them their privacy. So anytime we do a tour, we tell everybody, hey, keep it down, be respectful, be professional, so that somebody can feel comfortable when they're in here in a session. And you can see with the hallway, again, I reiterate the lighting, the knickknacks, from the minute you walk through the front door till you walk out the exit, again, we want it to be that calming environment. So we'll take a look on the other side. So one of the other amenities that we have is we have 6 other areas that we utilize. 2 are for office spaces, and then the other ones are for meditation pods, where somebody can come in, throw their earbuds in, sit down, listen to a podcast, relax, or some type of meditation. And again, just another amenity that we offer to our employees. The last stop we'll make is our conference room area. So one of the big things with our conference room area, as you can tell, doesn't look like a typical Metro conference room. Usually you have the big round table, the head of the department, and then seats around it. But what we're fortunate to have is Walker Furniture donated a good portion of this furniture. So now we utilize it for team meetings, training, and a number of opportunities to bring squads in. We usually end our tours here and then allow the employees to sit down, kind of do a Q&A with them to answer any questions that they might have about the wellness building. But I can tell you we've had tremendous success with opening this up to our employees. Even though our offices are here and we house the clinicians and the peer support team, what we try to stress is this is your building. This is for our employees and their families. And we want to make sure that if we have this nice building that people are utilizing it. So we're encouraging it, whether it's a tour, whether it's a session with our clinician, whether it's coming in to use our massage chairs. Either way, we just want you to be able to come here and enjoy what we've created and what we built. Because having something like this and having a space and a place to go for our employees to relax is just a wonderful opportunity. And it's obviously because of our leadership, we were able to make this actually happen.
If you haven't, thank you. So if you haven't seen our Wellness Bureau, please get out there. I also want to shout out to the captains, lieutenants, and the sergeants that are taking note and taking that extra time each day to look at their employees, observe them, and see if they're having a good day or a bad day. It's very important that everybody's engaged in building this wellness center. First responders. We cannot forget the first responders in our community. They are the heroes. They're the ones running into the danger. We cannot forget them. I want you to look at these four faces, the smiles, the innocence. This is the face of Metro when we began. Now imagine 30 years of service out on the streets, seeing homicide after homicide, traffic fatality, suicide. They have to rush to these calls each and every day. How many times do you think you could have to deal with that in your mind before you were affected? These are kids. These are sons, these are daughters. And we need to take care of our people. And I'm very proud at this time that we are doing something, and the sheriff has held to his commitment and his promise to take care of all of our employees at LVMPD. Another group that's very important to this organization that has been forgotten at times is our CSI team. The CSI team sees everything that's horrific beyond imaginable. And they stay on the crime scene for hours and sometimes days to take meticulous notes, investigation, collect data. They are the voices to the victims. See how many things, start thinking about what they have to go through and what goes through their mind, all the pictures that they have to see. So now I would like to do two things. Number one, I would like to recognize former Deputy Chief Kelly McMahill, who's sitting here in front. Kelly, can you stand? And I want to do that because Kelly had a vision 8-10 years ago and wanted to bring this to Metro years ago. And for various reasons, we never got there. But with her vision and Sheriff McMahill's vision, his passion, and how he executes, we got this done. We need to keep this going because let me tell you something. I'm tired of talking about suicides, and I'm tired of going to funerals. In 2022, we had 3 of our officers take their own life in this organization. 3 family members. This is our family. In 2023, we had 1 member take their own life. The sheriff and I and the executive staff were out having dinner 4 hours before New Year's Eve because the sheriff, as you know, walks the strip every year to thank his employees and tell them what a great job they're doing and how proud he is of them. And we got that call 4 hours before New Year's Eve. In 2024, we had no suicides. This program is working. It's the best in the country, and I'm honored and proud to work with this team. Other heroes in our organization, our 911, 311 call takers. Who do we call when we have an emergency? Pick up the phone and we call 911, and we expect an answer, and we expect police officers on site immediately. This is a very, very important group that we've left out over the years, but not anymore, not under the direction of Sheriff McMahill. The Communications Bureau in 2023, when he took office, was 50% vacant. 50%. We are now 100% fully staffed. We had to change a couple things. We had to change the environment. Can you imagine working in an environment to the left? Again, we had donors come forward and help us put new furniture in this place, make it worthwhile to come to work again. We also had to change the culture. The sheriff had to make some hard decisions, but for the right reason. Let me show you the success. These are our 911 calls. If you look to the left of the screen, our TSF was 41% back in June of 2023. Now, what does that mean? That means that we answered only 41% of our calls in less than 15 seconds. Terrible. It's despicable. The average hold time for a 911 call back in June of 2023 was 55 seconds. 55 seconds is an eternity when you have an emergency. And our longest max call time of a 911 call in June of 2023 was 11 minutes. Unacceptable. Fast forward to January 2025, our TSF is at 95%, which means 95% of our calls are being answered in less than 15 seconds. Our average wait time is 2 seconds. That's the improvements that the sheriff has made for this organization and most importantly for this community. Changing gears over to Clark County Detention Center. The South Tower was built in 2002, and we are doing a major renovation which is only going to help the inmates and will also be helping our employees. Did you guys know that CCDC, the Clark County Detention Center, is the largest mental health facility in the state of Nevada? It's also the largest addiction center in the state of Nevada, and it's also holds the largest population of unhoused individuals. So what are we doing? What are we doing about this? Well, we know we can't arrest our way out of these problems. We have to address them. In December of this last year, we brought in a new medical team to take care of all of our inmates. In addition to that, we have a program called DSD Cares. Each month, we bring in resources from out in the community. We bring in the housing department. We bring in rehabilitation services. We bring in mentors. We bring in anything that you can imagine that these people need to get them back on their feet. And that's the goal, right? We don't want them to be back in our jails because that means they're committing crimes. This is a SMART program. This is a 60-bed facility to help address the mental illness that is in our jail system. Again, to help people with mental illness, to help them, to give them an opportunity, a chance to get back on track. This is what your sheriff is doing. And last, the Nevada legislature passed a bill where inmates can vote. And this past year, we had 200 to 300 inmates in our jail exercise their right to vote. Moving forward real quick on the exciting things, the expansion that we are doing right now. This is our current area command. It covers the whole valley. We are expanding. We're expanding the Hollywood Area Command, and I want to thank the county commissioners here for this help, this huge project. We're expanding into the east. This new building will be located at Sahara and Hollywood. Very exciting. Also, we're moving to the northwest side of the valley. This is our current Northwest Area Command. We're expanding into the northwest and building a new substation. Thank you to the city for all that you've done for this. Shout out to the city, Sky Canyon, moving forward to protect the needs of this community and expanding our public safety. Last, I would just like to say, it's an honor to work with the sheriff. It's a privilege. When he makes a promise, it happens. I'm so proud and incredibly proud of our wellness team, all of our officers, and everyone of this organization. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Sheriff McMahill back.
Thanks, buddy. James did a pretty good job there. I know he was stressed out about coming up here and speaking in front of everybody, so. So where are we going to go this year? A lot of challenges on our horizon, folks. Just like I said last year, it's coming. Hell, we started off this year with a bang, right? Didn't expect that. But I know for a fact that the men and women of law enforcement in Southern Nevada are prepared to do this, and I'm completely confident in the men and women of Metro in particular. And so as we look at some of these challenges moving forward, let's see, it looked like I went past one of them there. Oh, maybe not. All right. These are headlines, not so great headlines. These are all things that happened to our officers, our supervisors. I'm completely convinced that the reason that we see so many of these negative headlines is because the men and women that are out there, going back to the wellness that James was talking about, we hadn't taken care of them enough yet. I see when they start to cross the lines and they do some things, we're going to hold them accountable without a doubt. And I made it very clear to my organization that wellness does not trump accountability. We will continue along this path, but the intent behind taking care of our men and women in ways we've never taken care of them is we don't have to have these kind of headlines. We go back in and do sort of a post-mortem on every one of these. We could have interceded at different times. We had the opportunity in some areas here to recognize the challenges those individual officers were having. And the leadership of this organization is being challenged this year to make sure we don't have to read that many headlines next year. I'm never going to ignore the warts that we have. We're the finest police department in this country, but we also have to think about what ethics mean and what morals mean and what values mean to us as well. And above all of that, take all of those things and inject that humanity right back into not only the people that we have the pleasure to police, but also the people that work here on our organization. And that is something I will be focusing on as we move forward in the year. Look, the other side of this here is you had the unrest that's already happening in our community. That picture of those guys jumping on the back of my police truck was from Lamb and Charleston, where we had about 500 cars come in and take over and a riot ensued. That's not acceptable. But we also live in a time frame where President Trump has a completely different approach when it comes to immigration than President Biden did. And it's causing a lot of unrest in our community. And it is going to continue to cause a lot of unrest in our community. I don't mind focusing in on violent individuals that need to be taken out of this community, regardless of their immigration status, and that while this controversy will continue, no doubt about it, we here at Metro will continue to follow the laws as they are written. We don't make law, okay? Listen, the top right is dollars and cents. Every last one of us, from the city to the county to the lawsuit of $34 million that Metro was just held accountable to for something we really, quite frankly, shouldn't have been held account to. But the reality of it is that the economic headwinds are hitting all of our funding agencies as well as us smack dab in the nose. This next year is going to be particularly challenging for us as we move forward, and I acknowledge that fact. But what I also know around that is that we will not lay anybody off. We will continue down the path of public safety that we always have. We'll increase our partnership, increase our community relations, and keep doing what it is that you all know how to do, which is keep this community safe. I'm not worried about it. We're going to get through it, just like we did in the recession, just like we did in the past. And that's why I'm going to continue to look outside of our traditional funding sources to continue to make sure that we're successful here at Metro. Listen, you also heard Andy talk a little bit about the courts and the judicial system. Writing more tickets did nothing to resolve the fact that our fatal accidents went up. We got to start tracking what is actually happening with these tickets. This non-criminal aspect of traffic citations was an experiment that, if you ask me, has failed. People are not being held accountable, period. Red light cameras is something I'm fighting for regardless of which party you come from, because I'm sick and tired of picking people up off the grounds of our streets because of the bad, irresponsible driving behavior of people in our community. It's time to change the game around that and do something about it. And while we have this legislative session in session, I'm going to do everything in my power as your sheriff to make a change so that we don't have so many people dying on our roadways. All right, so what's the goals? You just heard me talk all about the traffic cameras. I don't know what the hell that is. It's a video? Okay, apparently it's a video. Imagine that was your loved one in that intersection. Bad driving behavior, DUI, DUI on drugs, all of these things are happening in our community. So here's the challenge. 158, I believe, last year or more. That's just my jurisdiction, by the way. I always put out these challenges to Metro because I know you can achieve them. I know we can lead and motivate our people and change the narrative around everything it is that we do, because Metro, you matter. So this one looks unattainable, particularly with the start that we've already had this year, but I'm convinced the challenge that I'm putting before you is we get under 125 fatals. Last year we ended at 109 homicides, from averaging somewhere above 150. Those 2 years of significant reductions. We also now add in overdose response teams when we find somebody dead of a drug, and we go out and trace it back to the dealer and arrest that individual for homicide. We're adding in numbers that we have never added before, but getting under 100 homicides will be the first time, and I can't even begin to tell you how long. That matters to me. That number's real. We have been working with our MMAC group, our Metro Multicultural Advisory Council. They just completed a strategic plan, 4 prongs based off the Boston Miracle and the number of homicide reductions that they had. They've done Michael and MMAC, the group over here. In fact, if you're a member of MMAC, please stand and be recognized for the great work that you all do for us. These are all people that come together once a month to tell me where I'm not getting it right and how we can get it right. To hear from different communities that maybe that that don't look like me or don't think like me, but to help me drive forward opportunity for change in our community. We're going to get under 100 homicides for the first time in many, many years, and I'm particularly grateful for the effort of all of you, as well as the men and women that are out there doing this work. Another lofty goal. Why have a goal if it's not almost unattainable, I guess is the question, right? Because you have to work for something. You have to constantly have your leaders motivated with the idea that, man, we're not close to where we need to be. We've got to change it up, change it up, change it up to get there, to believe in it. I believe in my people. I believe we're going to get this 50% reduction in officer-involved shootings. It's also very exciting. Our second building of the reality-based training center should be done here in just a couple of months. It's another thing built outside of the budget, over $35 million to complete those two buildings, to give the best training on this planet to our police officers so we can get to places like a 50% reduction in officer-involved shootings. And there's my multicultural committee. So, one hell of a last year, one hell of a year ahead of us. I'm particularly grateful for you all showing up today. We got right at about the hour, but I do want to say just a couple of things to you real fast. Number one is, all the videos, all the things you've seen put together here today are done by my PIO team, Jamie Yost, Beth, Carlos, Romero. Wave your hands, Carlos. What a great job you guys all did. Thank you very much. And I'd just like to also thank, again, President Maurice Wooden, Senior Vice President of Security MJ Jamal, and the Director of Catering and Events, Amanda Tormina, here from Fountain Blue. You guys just knocked it out of the park, as usual. And if you would, just join me for a moment of silence for our officer who died in a head-on accident on I-15, Colton Pulsifer. He leaves behind a wife and 3 young children. And I'd say that because I never want you to forget how dangerous it is for our men and women to go out there and do the work it is that they do every single day. So if you would, please. Thank you. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't know James was going to talk about my wife, but listen, if you didn't think that I was going to get this wellness thing done out of everything that I was going to do, since it was her passion, you could count on that thing being done for sure. Every day I went home, she made sure to tell me, but my family, my daughter, my son, who's on the job here, thank you very much for all it is that you do to support me as being the sheriff, all the long days and nights that I'm gone, and I love you all, so thank you very much. And finally, I'll just say thanks again for coming. Let's go kick some ass, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.